plank, off the chain, we spank the track. We crawl the floor.
I see offshore wind as an incredible opportunity for the Illawarra to create good jobs and new industries and to be part of the clean energy transition. Because we're at the initial stages of this proposal, there is an opportunity to have a say on what this offshore wind proposal would look like for the Illawarra, and that can include local community benefit schemes, local jobs guarantees, local manufacturing and new industries. I want to see an Illawarra where we're looking after our workers, the environment and our community, and I see that offshore wind plays a role in that.
As a young person, as part of Tomorrow Movement, we're really concerned about the future in the face of the climate crisis, and we're really looking for solutions for what we can do, and I think it's really important that those solutions come from our communities and are locally based. The wind farms and the offshore wind projects provide an opportunity that we can be really hopeful about in terms of supporting our local economy, supporting jobs and keeping those benefits within our local communities. I think a lot of the concerns about the environment in terms of these windshore proposals are really valid, and we really need to take those forward as we go through planning and environmental assessment stages of these projects. But at the same time, the impacts of climate change on our ecosystems will be severe and dramatic, and we need to take that into account when we're considering the environmental impacts. But I think that we can see a lot of benefits for our region, whilst also giving ourselves a really hopeful path forward in the face of the climate crisis, as well as our economic, housing, jobs crises that, particularly as young people, we're facing first and here today.
We support offshore wind in the Hunter. We think it's a good place for renewable energy projects and good union secure jobs for workers in the region, especially those who currently work in traditional industries such as coal mining or coal-fired power plants. It's a good place for them to find more secure work into the future. So we like to communicate with the proponents who want to develop our expectations from the Jobs Alliance and our affiliates, expectations around community benefits, good, secure union jobs, local content, local procurement as well, and environmental standards as well.
Can offshore electricity from wind turbines help with climate change? Short answer, yes. First, China by itself has enough offshore wind turbine electrical generating capacity to cover half of all of Australia's needs, and it's only going to increase. Second, wind is just one of the 17 or so renewable capabilities that we'll have in our future energy mix. And finally, offshore wind, as compared to onshore, is both stronger and more reliable. Now, have you heard the one about how offshore wind turbines kill whales and birds in vast numbers? Ain't so. Firstly, birds. On land in the USA each year, wind turbines do kill 250,000 birds, which is a big number, but glass windows on buildings kill 500 times more, and cats kill 1,000 times more. So what about wind turbines at sea killing whales? Just doesn't happen, but we humans do kill whales by deliberate whale catching and by depletion of their food supplies by human overfishing. Now, it has been claimed that the energy that it takes to make and install an electric wind turbine is more than the energy you'll ever get out of it in its whole 20-year or 25-year life. Totally wrong. The concept you're wondering about here is called energy payback time. For a wind turbine, it's 6 months. That's right, 6 months. And for solar panels, it's about 15 to 30 months. In other words, once you've made your wind turbines or your solar panels, you have recovered all that energy and you're getting it all for free after 6 months with a wind turbine or about 2 years with solar panels. And if you make them with renewable energy in the first place, as you should, it's even better. Now, will offshore wind turbines destroy the surf breaks and the fishing on our local beaches? No. Now, with a wind turbine, you've got this big shaft going into the ocean. It's kind of like a pencil going vertically into the ocean, and they're about only 10 metres in diameter, and you've got a bunch of them scattered a big distance apart. Now compare that to a giant ocean liner, a third of a kilometre long. When it goes past on the horizon, is there an interruption in the surf breaks or in the fishing? No. So logically, these pencils stuck in the ocean won't do that either. In fact, there have been cases where the underwater structures associated with the offshore wind turbines have attracted marine life and set up a bit of a coral reef and have enhanced the fishing.
So I'm a local in the Illawarra, on the northern suburbs of Illawarra. I've been surfing the waves down here for over 20 years, some of those slabs that we all try to keep secret. Whenever I consider whether a wind farm, for example, is going to inhibit the swell lines from hitting the reefs or the beaches like we enjoy as surfers, I always remember that 4,000 miles away is where these swell lines started, the bottom of South Africa and the Antarctica, and as they march, it's like saying, does the ant stop my car from rolling? No, it doesn't, because these swell lines are coming from massive storms that are traveling thousands of kilometers. And for example, if a coal ship, which comes past 3 or 4 of them per day, every day when I'm surfing, if they don't inhibit the swell, nor will pencil-shaped wind turbines, which aren't actually even drilled into the ground, they're buoyed. So I don't think it's going to inhibit surfing. I think we need to be open-minded, we need to be fast and adventurous with our challenge of this climate disaster that's sort of upon us, and we need to use all methods at our disposal, including wind. When I think about ways of diverting the impending, let's just be sharp about it, the impending tragedy we're looking at in terms of climate change, we need to cultivate the energy from all resources rather than just going back to what we know, which is coal and coal mining. If we can come up with more alternatives other than fossil fuels like wind and sun, we can start to actually build a hopeful future for our children, 2 of which are really important to me, my daughter and my son. So I think it's important we get movement, we make decisions, and we don't muck around.
We call the bluff, scan the sky, we keep it hot. We read the signs, change the course.
The trade-off between acting on climate change and environmental impacts is a tricky one, but I think we have to recognise that all forms of electricity generation come with some environmental impacts, and it's about finding ways to plan to have the least worst outcome. So going in with our eyes wide open to all of the potential impacts and planning to avoid those as much as possible.
1, 2, 3. At once. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
I would think that our very best option is to go in eyes wide open to all of the potential impacts we have and use a planning process that really aims for the best possible electricity generation at the least cost for the greatest societal benefit, while also being the least worst outcome for the environment. And to do that, we just need to use really appropriate planning tools, not a patchwork of individual sites assessed separately.
We're taking off at hyper speed.
Change really hurts. It's really painful because we don't know what's going to happen when we commit to going to places of change. And having worked on change for my whole adult life, I've seen pain before the new other side is realised. And I think as we've gone into this conversation around wind in this region, one of the saddest parts is that we're hurting each other in trying to make sense. And the reality is we have such a minute time as a species on the rock, and we all should be thinking about how we can be custodians of our time here and how we can leave the place to be better off afterwards. And one of the beautiful things that our Indigenous systems knowledge holders bring on this continent is we've done that translation for 60,000 years. We've got patterns and models and processes that can really help inform how we move. And that I think is the design opportunity of a generation. It's the capacity for us to move from cultural motives, from asking our Indigenous people to come and entertain and to tell a story, to them being like, how do we actually look at the process of how the biomimicry works in the relationship with a songline that weaves these waterways, and then that placing of memory and intelligence into the whale story? How do we think about how we position that story and how we're going to design the wind farms, and how we design every wind farm in the world, and then how every wind farm then works in its circularity and maybe eventually can lead to a place where it enhances life of whales for 500,000 years after us. Who knows what the possibilities are if we expand the reach of the system capabilities and we expand our imagination. And I think the problem with fear, it's the mind killer. Frank Herbert said in June, you know, it pulls us back, and the more we're afraid, all we can do is attack and then be astonished by the attack of someone else, and we're always just running around hurt. And you can't design from hurt, you can't imagine from hurt, you can't look at a system from hurt, because the only way we look at systems is actually in relation. The only way we can get there. No individual can hold the map of the stars, but you can do it when you come together. And that's the challenge. This is a breakdown in how we communicate, but it's only a breakdown on a couple of platforms. We have lots of time together, lots of other opportunities to design networks, and this could be one of the great case studies for the world.